Hi, I'm Glenn Tinley with Dish Magazine, and we're here to talk to you a little bit about wines today. The Winnipeg Wine Festival is coming up May 1st through to the 7th at the Winnipeg Convention Center, as it always does. The Dish Magazine, we are very happy to once again be a core sponsor, media sponsor with the event in support of Special Olympics Manitoba, and we are here today at the Manitoba Liquor Control Commission location on Grant Avenue, and I'm here with wine knowledgeable person, very knowledgeable person, and Dish Magazine columnist Ben MacPhee-Sigurdson. Thanks for coming out today.
Oh, absolutely, my pleasure. There's some open bottles of wine. How could I say no?
This is exactly, the invitation was welcoming.
Exactly.
I am one of these people who I love wine. Mm-hmm. I think I know what I like. Good. But I'm always open to learning more, which is why thousands of people go to the wine festival every year.
Exactly.
To find out more things.
Yeah.
California is the theme this year.
Yes.
And they always sort of theme it, which is really kind of cool. And so this year they've chosen California. So I wanted to chat with you because I want you to tell me what's the difference between a Napa wine, a Sonoma wine, a Cabernet, a Chardonnay, a Pinot Noir, all these different varietals. And I talked to a lot of different people, and a lot of times people say, you know, I know kind of what I'm looking for, but the label sways me. I kind of look at the label, and that's great. Yeah. And I think it's become a bit of an art just having how the label looks to sell wines.
It definitely has, yeah.
But people need to know what's in the bottle because really, once the bottle's empty, the labels are going into the recycling bin. So.
Exactly. I mean, most wine labels will contain all the information you could possibly need about a wine, the grape, the vintage, the region that it comes from. It won't contain the price, obviously, but the alcohol level, usually the amount of time spent in oak. It's got some tasting notes on the back that maybe the winemaker or someone from the winery has put together, and it'll at least give you a good head start kind of thing as in terms of what you're looking for in terms of flavors. The appearance of a wine can definitely give you some indication as to what the wine's going to be like. I mean, we've got a Pinot Noir here. It's very light in color, obviously, so it's going to be a lot lighter of a wine. And then we've got a couple heavier reds, a Zinfandel and a Cabernet Sauvignon, and those are going to pack a little bit more body and a little bit more weight on the palate and just deliver some probably more intense flavors in general.
Well, why don't we start with, and I guess you obviously are way more experienced in how you taste wines, but I'm going to assume we're going to start down at the lightest and so white. So you've chosen a Sonoma County Chardonnay. Yeah. And is that the most widely grown grape in the area?
Chardonnay is the most widely grown grape in California, as a matter of fact, and I believe both in Sonoma County and in Napa Valley, it is the most widely grown grape. Okay. Sonoma does a great job with Chardonnay, and they make it in in a variety of different styles to an extent. It'll be a little bit lighter generally than a Napa Valley Chardonnay, just because Sonoma County is it's a little bit northeast of Napa in the North Coast region, and a little bit closer to the ocean. So it gets a little bit of that maritime influence of cooling temperatures in the evening. Right. So it does keep the grapes from getting quite as sweet and juicy and ripe on the vine as they would say in Napa Valley.
Just because of and that was one of my questions is, Sonoma gets more of the ocean breeze. That's right. Keeping temperatures down.
That's right.
Napa is sort of more protected, so it heats up a lot more.
Yeah, so you tend to find Chardonnay is a very versatile grape. It can be grown in fairly cool climates, like even to the extent of Niagara Peninsula and stuff in Canada. But it can also be grown in really warm areas as well, like Napa Valley and Sonoma County. But the end result is just slightly different. A Napa Valley Chardonnay is going to be really big, rich, buttery. A Sonoma County Chardonnay will have some of those characteristics, but maybe a little bit leaner on the palate and a little bit more minerality going on as well, kind of thing, which it's climate, it's soil, it's the maritime influence, it's the winemaker's decisions. There's so many variables. Right. I mean, and vintage to vintage, it might change as well.
So let's try these because that's part of the advantage of tasting, of being part of a wine tasting and being with our wine specialist in Dish Magazine is we get to actually drink it.
Excellent.
So
My favorite part.
what should we, or what might someone look for? This is a Sonoma County Chardonnay. This is going to be that cooler temperatures.
Yeah, I mean, personally, to be honest, I've never tried this wine, but Chateau Saint Jean, I always want to call it Chateau Saint Jean, but it's actually called Chateau Saint Jean in Sonoma. They do some great stuff with Cabernet and with red varietals as well as white grapes like Chardonnay. But yeah, hopefully there'll be a little bit of minerality. There'll be a little bit of, like the slightly leaner apple, peach, pear kind of notes. But yeah.
Now, if this was a Napa, if I were to look at the color, would I look? This is sort of a light golden color. I'm going to make the assumption, and again, I'm the novice here, but I'm going to look at it and say a Napa might be more golden.
It might be, yeah. I mean, if you had this same wine that was, say, 3 or 4 vintages older, this is a 2009, which is what's on the shelf, but if you happen to pull out a 2005, 2006 from your cellar, say, it's going to be a little bit darker, a little bit more golden color. That's what happens as wine gets older. But also, if it spends a little bit more time in the barrel, it is going to pick up some color, and it is going to get a little bit deeper gold in color as well. So yeah, this is not a surprising color for sure for a Sonoma County Chardonnay or for a younger Chardonnay.
Okay.
So.
Well, let's get to the good stuff here.
Sure. That's nice. I really like that. I mean, it's got some of that richness to it, like the vanilla notes, and a little bit of that butterscotch probably from oak aging, but it's got some of that nice crisp, almost green apple character. A little bit of lemon in there, a little bit of tart peach, and yeah, I think that's delicious wine. I think this one's around 24.
Yeah. So this one.
Dollars.
Sorry. Yeah, not as a scoring point.
Yeah, exactly.
So when at Mr. Novice here, I actually peach. I tasted. It's light. I didn't get the vanilla, but again, it's you're sort of tasting for things. But this is something. What are we going to pair this? What are we going to have this either before dinner? Cooled, or on a summer sitting on the deck outside.
Absolutely, you could do either. I mean, first thing you would want to do is chill it when you get home, because whites you tend to drink cold or chilled, and reds you would drink at room temperature or slightly less. But you could have it on its own. It would probably do really well with a nice salmon dish. You could do some lighter salads and cheeses. You could do some shellfish. You could do something lighter grilled on the barbecue or something like that, like maybe some even grilled vegetables or something like that.
Well, I know that actually last summer sort of got, and again, I'm I love wine, but red wines and bigger, what I'll call bigger red wines are sort of my favorite. And I started buying a Chardonnay, chilling it. Just not too cold, but just in the fridge. And then, my wife on a Saturday afternoon, we can sit on the deck outside in the sun. And it was really a nice, it's just a different experience than sort of what traditionally I would say, I'm just going to have a glass of red wine and sit out there.
Yeah.
It changes. It does change it. It changes the whole aspect of what's going on.
For sure, and you don't want to chill a wine to the point where the flavors are just so constricted that
they lock them in on us, right?
Exactly. As a wine warms up, the flavors do sort of they come alive and they open up. The wine will open up, so to speak. And more flavors will come out, and then eventually, if you're sitting out on the deck or something, it'll be too warm and it'll sort of taste a little flabby and gross.
Right.
But if it's at the right temperature, this I would say maybe, I don't know, in terms of degrees, like 8 to 10 degrees maybe, kind of thing. I don't know. I usually play it by ear. I never measure the temperature on a wine.
Right.
I just sort of take it out, and if I taste it and it's a little bit too cold, then I just sort of let it sit for a bit and then come back to it, and once it's tasting pretty good, then you just throw it back in the fridge and try and keep it at that temperature and go from there.
So that's the other key is, if you are sitting outside, don't just put the bottle outside in the direct sun. Keep it somewhere cool, because it's going to get too warm quickly.
If you've got an ice bucket, or even just some cold water or something, you can dunk it into a bucket or something. As long as you don't care about the label, becoming frayed or falling off or something. No concerns there otherwise.
Okay.
Yeah, that's very nice. I really like this.
That is a nice. Well, let's move to the lightest of the reds that we've got out today, which is a Pinot Noir.
Sure.
A lot of people are going to associate Pinot Noir. I do instantly with a very light red, and also the movie Sideways.
Yes.
So that was sort of, from what I understand, kind of brought Pinot Noir out of, for lack of a better word, out of the closet in terms of, making it widely known.
Yeah, absolutely.
So where does the, tell me about Pinot Noir. How is it made? Why is it lighter than some, like a Cabernet?
Well, yeah, in the movie, which I think came out in 2004, it's, Miles, the main character, is a nut about Pinot Noir. And anyway, Pinot Noir really sort of had its, for lack of a better term, coming out party in conjunction with that movie, and I think sales did reflect that, and also reflected that in Merlot adversely. But this one is from Santa Barbara County, the Lucas and Llewellyn. It's a lighter grape in general. It makes wines that tend to, they can almost use just a little bit of chilling just to take the edge off, but they can have flavors ranging anywhere from cola, cherry, tobacco, leather to, you get into some of the really sort of specific area or area-specific French Burgundies where they start tasting like people describe them as like mushrooms and forest floor and like sort of less palatable or less appealing descriptors, I guess. But in general, it's a lighter red. It's a good sort of crossover wine in terms of food pairing because it can go with lighter dishes. It can go with similar things to a Chardonnay. It can go with grilled fish or other similar lighter dishes. But generally lighter, fairly complex, and it is a fickle grape like they talk about in the movie. Like it's not an easy grape for winemakers to make, or make well, I should say. Okay, because we're gonna taste all of these, which is another added benefit to what we get to do. But it's I've heard that as well. That Pinot it's lighter, and you might think, well, it's somewhat simple grape. Yeah. But I've heard that it's complex in terms of. It can be the exact opposite. It's light, but it can be very complex, and it's a tough one to always get a handle on in terms of consistency, because producers will make it very differently. Some much bigger, some much lighter, and more refined and sort of subtle. But it sort of depends on from bottle to bottle. Okay, well, let's give this see how approachable this one is. Well, it is, again, it's a bit light for my taste. Or for my taste buds, I guess. But you tend to get sort of commonalities that you can say, between these wines. I get just nice fresh red berries off of this, like raspberries, strawberries, some cherry in there as well. It's got some light tannins in there, which comes from the seeds and the stems of red grapes, and those were sort of what produced that mouth-drawing feeling from a red wine. Just a little bit of that, not too much, and just a little bit of juicy acidity, kind of to balance it out and keep it from tasting just overly sweet and simple kind of thing. Because the fruit flavors are fairly ripe and fairly sweet. Well, and that's what I would say. It's a dry wine, but it's juicy. Definitely light, fruity, pretty easygoing. You could chill this down for like 10-15 minutes. You could do like a mushroom risotto or something like that. That would be really good. Okay. Those mushroomy characteristics might in the dish might sort of help lift out those nuances in the wine as well. And it's got a little bit of that juicy acidity that can sort of help cut through the creaminess of the risotto dish too. Okay. You could do some sort of light to medium cheeses kind of thing. Now, with this one in particular, I wouldn't. You wouldn't go with anything too big for sure, but nice, easygoing red. We started this with a nice light Chardonnay white, Pinot Noir, lighter red. And so what we're going to do now is we're going to move into a little bit of what we'll call a heavier reds. But we're going to do that as part 2 of our sort of series here. So sounds good. We're going to wrap up part 1 here. I am Glenn Tinley with Dish Magazine. I'm here with Ben MacPhee-Sigurdson, who is a columnist with Dish Magazine and is a wine expert here in Winnipeg. And we're here to talk about wines and talk about what you can do and hopefully educate you a little bit. We are doing this as part of the Winnipeg Wine Festival that runs May 1st to 7th at the Winnipeg Convention Center. And we're going to come back with part 2, and we're going to talk about a Zinfandel and a Cabernet. So make sure you click on the next video to watch those as well.